Finding God's guidance in silence, the power of stillness that changes everything. Have you ever noticed how loud the world has become? Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's hustling, but almost no one is listening. You scroll some more, and yet, deep inside, you still don't have direction. You keep asking, God, what's my purpose? What's my next move? But all you hear is silence. What if I told you that silence is not the absence of God? It's the place where He's speaking the loudest. Today, we're unlocking a secret that could completely reshape how you make decisions, how you handle pressure, and how you find clarity when everyone else is panicking. Stay until the end, because I'll reveal 3 pro tips hidden inside silence and one massive truth that ties them together. It's the kind of realization that can change how you hear God forever. The search for direction. Every young man comes to a crossroads. You stand between what the world expects and what God whispers. You're told to be louder, hustle harder, post more. But God says something completely opposite. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. Think about that. Your strength, not your weakness, comes from quietness. Your salvation, not your failure, comes from rest. Let that hit. While everyone else burns out trying to be seen, God builds up those who choose to be still. And here's the twist. Sometimes God removes the noise not to punish you, but to prepare you. Pro tip 1. The Stoic Test. I'm going to show you how to pass something I call the Stoic Test. It's the first way God filters strong men from distracted ones. But before I tell you what it is, let me ask you, how do you act when God goes silent? Do you panic? Do you fill the silence with opinions, music, and noise? Or do you wait? Hold that thought, because the Stoic Test is one of the most important spiritual skills you'll ever master. We'll circle back to it soon. The Power of Stillness. Speaker, there's a verse that should stop every man in his tracks. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It doesn't say, be busy. It doesn't say, be successful. It says, be still. Stillness isn't laziness, it's alignment. It's that sacred space where your ambition bows to His authority, where your plans stop talking long enough to hear His. You see, the enemy doesn't always tempt you with sin. Sometimes he tempts you with speed. He makes you so impatient that you miss God's timing. That's why the loudest season of confusion often comes right before the clearest word from God. Pro tip 2. The 3-day rule. There's a rhythm God uses to reveal answers, and it's been hiding in plain sight since the resurrection. I call it the 3-day rule. But here's the mystery. It's not about waiting 3 literal days. It's about learning to wait until the noise dies and faith takes over. You're going to need this rule when life blindsides you, when you lose direction, or when you feel forgotten. I'll explain exactly how this rule works and how it's tied to Jesus Himself soon. Stay with me. Silence is not emptiness. Let's get real. Sometimes silence feels like abandonment. You pray, and nothing happens. You ask for a sign, and the sky stays blank. But silence isn't absence. Silence is the space where God is building your roots. For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from Him. Psalm 62:5. Waiting in silence is not passive, it's preparation. You're not being ignored, you're being instructed. God's silence is like a coach's pause. He's watching if you've mastered the last lesson before giving you the next one. The world will never understand this kind of patience because it's supernatural. Pro tip 3. The whisper code. Here's something few men ever learn early enough. When you finally stop chasing the loud signs, you start decoding the whisper code. This is the way God gives direction that feels subtle but hits deep. It's not lightning bolts. It's patterns. It's confirmation. It's conviction. It's peace that doesn't make sense. I'll reveal how to recognize this whisper code, and once you do, you'll never need to beg for clarity again. But before we unpack that, let me take you back to a story that proves all 3 pro tips in action. The example, Elijah's silence. Remember Elijah? He called down fire from heaven. He faced off against 450 prophets of Baal. He was powerful, loud, unstoppable. But after his greatest victory, he ran into his greatest silence. He hid in a cave, desperate for God to speak. And what happened? And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake, and after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire, a gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:11-12. That whisper was God. Elijah expected thunder, but God whispered peace. Because guidance doesn't come from the storm, it comes from the stillness. That's where He tests you. That's where He molds you. That's where He trusts you with your next assignment. The 3 pro tips revealed. All right, we've come full circle. Let's break open the 3 pro tips we've been waiting for. Pro tip 1, the Stoic Test. When you can't hear God, don't fill the silence with static. The test isn't to fix the noise, it's to remain faithful through it. The Stoic Test separates the impatient from the prepared. It's God asking, can you trust me even when I'm quiet? Pro tip 2, the 3-day rule. When Jesus died, everyone thought the story was over. Day 1, silence. Day 2, doubt. Day 3, resurrection. Every man of faith lives through these 3 days, over and over again. The lesson? Never judge God's plan by the silence of day 1 or the doubt of day 2, because resurrection always comes on day 3. Pro tip 3, the whisper code. When you stop demanding signs, you start detecting signals. God's guidance comes as inner peace, divine timing, and godly counsel. He whispers through scripture, through still moments, through your conscience, and once you tune into that frequency, you'll start to hear Him everywhere. The final payoff, why this changes everything. Here's the truth. Every man who has ever changed the world, Moses, David, Jesus himself, all had one thing in common. They learned how to be still. Before Moses spoke to Pharaoh, he spent 40 years in the quiet of the desert. Before David ruled Israel, he learned God's rhythm in the stillness of shepherd fields. Before Jesus began his ministry, he spent 40 days in silence and solitude. God trains his leaders in quiet rooms before he reveals them on loud stages. So if you're in a silent season right now, don't curse it. You're not being hidden, you're being honed. You're not being ignored, you're being prepared. Silence is the forge where faith becomes unbreakable. Call to action. Right now, take a deep breath. Shut down the world for a second. Let everything go still. Hear that? That's not emptiness, that's presence. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. That verse isn't an instruction, it's an invitation. God's saying, come find me in the quiet. So the next time you don't know what to do, don't scroll, don't panic, return, rest, wait in silence. Because silence is not where God hides from you, it's where He meets you. If you can find strength in silence, you can find God anywhere. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more motivational stories from the Bible.